wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alaikum. Right. Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners. Welcome to Islam Radio, the voice of knowledge and inspiration. I'm your host, Mehtab.
Wa alaikum salam, everyone. And I'm Shamir. We're thrilled to have you join us today for a brand new episode of Education Matters.
That's right, Shamir. Education Matters is your go-to destination for all things education. Whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent, or just someone who is passionate about the power of learning, this is the show for you.
Absolutely, Mehtab. Each week we'll dive deep into the world of education, exploring the latest trends, innovations, and challenges in the field. We'll also bring you inspiring stories, expert interviews, and practical tips to help you navigate the educational landscape.
Sounds amazing. And the best part, Shamir, we're not here to lecture, are we? We're not
Sometimes we
here, of course, we're not here to lecture. We're here to have a meaningful conversation and engage with you, who are our wonderful listener. So if you have a question, thoughts, or ideas about education, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And I'll just give you your details that you can get in touch. You can call us in on 01733 602 133. That is 01733 602 133. If not, you can text us. Text into the show on 07 411 191062. 07 411 191062. We also have a live stream on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch. If you just wave by to them right now, yeah, hello. Please do leave a comment on live stream, wherever you are commenting from. And even if you're watching at a later date, please do get involved. We like to know what you think. We like to hear your opinion.
So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's embark on this educational journey together. Education Matters starts now.
Excellent. My favorite, obviously, English tea, 2 sugars.
Lipton?
Just normal PG tips. Lipton maybe in December time, when all the noses are snotty and all the cold is about. It's quite difficult towards the winter season. Right. So tonight on Education Matters, we will be looking at the world of parenting challenges. We are hoping to share advice on navigating tricky conversations and managing behavior. So we are hoping through this that we are able to support parents in dealing with students, dealing with their children in terms of parenting. Right, so the show will hopefully be split into a few segments. We are first going to look to understand challenging behavior. So the first segment will be understanding challenging behavior. Then we will be looking at effective communication strategies. And then we're going to look into introducing some consistent discipline and boundaries. And then finally, the option of, not finally, actually, we got seeking professional support. And then we got encouraging positive development. Okay, and then that is our final segment, and then we are hoping to, at the end, conclude our key points and our opinion on these matters. Okay, and yes, please do get involved. Do let us know. I'm sure many parents out there listening to us today. Let us know, what are your strategies. It's not always easy, especially with so many different things going on, with the culture clashes, religious clashes. There's so many factors going on, which makes it really difficult. We like to know on our show, what are your strategies that we can share with our lovely listener that they can implement at home.
Absolutely. I mean, there's it's quite a variety of topics there, and I'm sure the listeners today would benefit quite a lot, to be fair, with all these different topics. Should we start with challenging behavior?
Yeah, of course. So understanding challenging behavior. So I think it's important to discuss the common reasons behind challenging behavior in order to understand them. At the same time, looking at the importance of empathy and patience.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're gonna look into with the effective communication and so on after that. But challenging behavior, how understanding yourself, what would you see as a challenging behavior?
There's so many different types of challenges around behavior
Yeah.
that would be a problem. So a problem in the sense that it could stop progress or could hinder progress. You've got challenging behavior from the likes of I don't want to do the work
As in
a child.
okay, so it is in a classroom. Okay.
In a classroom environment. So obviously from a teacher's perspective,
Yeah.
you've got students who don't want to do the work because they've never really understood. Let's use maths as an example. If they've never really connected with maths, and then the work starts to become challenging, there'll be a period or a moment in their life where they almost admit that I can't do any more of this, and they almost lose that connection with the subject. For me as a teacher, that would be challenging behavior. That's an example of a challenging behavior.
At what stage would you consider it, like, you got the normal misbehavior,
Yeah.
you got the normal, warnings that you would give. Obviously, different schools have different policies around managing behavior. So, at what stage would you then define as an incident is a challenging behavior? So in terms of, let's just say,
in terms of the same example, or
yeah. So if you got a student who is, not following the instructions that you have given,
Yeah.
and there could be many, many reasons as to why. One of the ones that you've covered
okay, I see what you mean.
is in terms of their interest in that subject.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you would go and say, look, this is the,
I mean,
at what time, at
yeah.
what point do we say, okay, you know what? Now this is very challenging.
Yes. So initially, obviously, as a teacher, and I hope all the other teachers out there would agree. First of all, before you get into the school, you've already accepted that you are going to have to repeat yourself a number of times. In terms of you're going to give instructions.
Reminded, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to constantly give the same instructions throughout most classes in the day. Because we've obviously got 30 kids in front of our face. In an adult world, that you wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't expect to constantly remind yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not the initial part. So, for example, if they're sitting there and you've identified someone's not moving on with the work, you try a few strategies. Once you've tried those strategies, and if you that you normally go to,
and if you don't mind, Shamir, if your school is probably different to my school, could you just let us know as a teacher what sort of strategies would you use, or what sort of behavior system do you have in place that you use in your classroom?
In the school I work for, we've got a warn, move, and remove system. So I wouldn't necessarily jump into the warning straight away. So if I've identified a child that's not doing the work, I wouldn't necessarily warn them. First of all, I try and get onto their level, ask them, is there anything I can do to support you?
Have a bit of that would then obviously, of course.
So a bit of understanding. So I'm showing the student, actually, look, you can talk to me, you can use me to try and obviously get over that, whatever's going on in your life at that moment. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't necessarily warn or at that stage, but I'll try the normal one-to-one routine where you're giving that child your attention and then you're giving them and offering them your support. Once you've tried that and then they're still, for example, if that student wasn't necessarily reacting, again, there's so many different factors, which is why it's really difficult to answer. But for example, if it's quite obviously a deliberate attempt to not do the work for no reason
and persistent,
that'd be a quicker reason for me to give them a warning and then moving and then maybe sanctioning with a remove. But clearly, if it was somebody who's not normally like this, something clearly happened at break, lunch, maybe last lesson, you'd give that person a little bit more time. You give that person a little bit more patience. You try to understand and try to get to the bottom of it. Because it's not normal for that child. But so if you tried everything, all the strategies in my arsenal, then and if it's still not working, I would class that at that point being a challenging example of behavior.
Of course, and I think myself, you tried everything in the classroom. They're not changing. There's a communication going out to the head of house, head of year, head of department.
Yeah.
There's parents involved, perhaps. Whereas, they're just continuing to behave in a certain way. And it's not just one lesson, which may be across different subjects. Then that there's something there. Because I'm sure a lot of teachers would agree there's a lot of, in many schools, you would get students who are persistently peak of the triangle in a way. So in terms of always popping up, always got attention, and you will find that is pretty much the same. And those are the students that I would probably say because students are very different when they're at home to how they be. I was certainly very different. I was very, very different to how I was as a student in a mosque, how I was as a student in school, and how I was as a child at home. So I think with everyone that is the case, and the way that they behave is different. And so you will get students, the same kind of students that may rock up into detentions every week. So in a school environment, so we obviously describing challenging behavior as they just have no care of the behavior system. They have no respect of the teachers. Okay, that's where it gets very challenging for us as a teachers. And I think what we understand as a challenging behavior at home would be in terms of if you are having a conversation with your child at home every evening, they are not listening to your you sat down and you said, okay, you got a detention, right? And you did, so-and-so in a classroom, or you had a fight, right? And fighting is wrong. That's not something that we believe in our household, in our religion. Whatever the point is, you had a good chat with, it may be one-to-one, it may be mum and dad, or it may be like a family meeting, yeah? And that's something that I'm seeing a lot happening now as well. So you're having that chat with that child, and the next day they go into school and break time, or let's just leave next day. Let's just say they had that chat, and guess what? They're gone upstairs on their phone, Snapchat. Yeah, I'm ready tomorrow. Come. And then
it's almost switched off
in school, and I just feel like there's a lot of students, a lot of kids who unfortunately are there nodding their head. Yeah, okay, I won't do it again. But nothing's going in.
That's a short-term solution for them, isn't it? To get out of the
that
trouble
situation.
that they're in.
They just don't care.
Yeah.
That's and then next day, mom and dad meeting in a school again, the same thing happened, right? They're fighting again, or they may be misbehaving, doing something different, but still misbehaving, not following instructions. So I think for a parent, that becomes a very challenging behavior. Now, unfortunately, there's a big craze, or there was crave over vapes, where you're continuously having that conversation with your child. Look, I do not want you to be doing this. And then you'll catch them, or and then when they are not in your sight, they are there vaping.
This is the thing. It's like, for example, you just mentioned vapes. As a parent, if you've had a problem or issue with your child consistently getting in trouble with vapes, you might find a strategy that would stop your child, one instance, not have a vape or not be visible with a vape at home. But then what happens when they go to school and there's another 50 kids there in the toilets? So one of them didn't have that chat last night with their parent. So
and then
if he's bringing a stock of vapes, and the other boys, the idea is they've got access to the bad thing that they not supposed to do.
So shall we then conclude as a challenging behavior is where you can only manage your child when you're there and he's there or she's there right in front of you, and everything that they got access to, you can control. As soon as one of those gone, the control is gone, right? That's it.
It's less of a challenge. Like you said, when the parents are present, it'll be less of a challenge. However, I think in a broader sense, that challenging behavior, if another environment has having more impact negatively to the challenging behavior, then really, in hindsight, no matter what you do, in the long term, it will always that child who's challenging will almost always find a way to be challenging.
Yeah, of course. And I think
they're some students are very streetwise, are very smart.
Yeah.
They think outside the box. They're very creative nowadays.
So would you say then, our strategies when we go on to, I can't remember what segment, but when we get on to that,
strategies,
yeah. So when we do talk about that, would you say we need to look at more of a routine, long-term solutions rather than like a short-term fix, rather than, saying, yeah, this has that. So you're building a trust, you're building a system, you're building a routine with the child, so they know, what is expected of them and what is not expected of them. I think it's very hard. My daughter at the minute, alhamdulillah, she's at an age where there's no challenging behavior. There's no.
She's less than one, I believe. So
this
is the best period for you.
Al-Noor, if you're watching, you're a very good child, alhamdulillah, and stay like this, please. Don't give challenge.
That's what I said a year ago. But I'm getting beaten up every night.
I got
a black eye last night. I just managed to put some makeup over it today.
What's that from Aiden?
Yeah, he's a little.
You see, so I'm going through a challenge where I'm trying to get her to understand Pythagoras, and she's just not.
Are we talking about Kalsumi or?
No. Right. So I'm what I'm thinking of is in sense of our it gets very difficult. I think it gets very, very difficult in terms of understanding the behavior and then hoping that we can fix or be there as a parent. As a parents, we need to be there, and the way we are going to, hopefully we'll discuss some strategies, but please do make sure that you are able to recognize these behaviors. And you as a parent yourself, husband and wife, both know, mom and dad both knows, okay, right, I think this is getting serious, we need to fix it.
Yeah, I think, we've obviously identified a couple of extreme examples where challenging behavior is obviously obvious. But like I think you mentioned, the first segment really is just to make those parents aware that they need to possess an ability to identify and recognize and sometimes even investigate and try and find out when it's not obvious if your child is up to no good.
Excellent.
Which is going to hinder.
Yeah, and I think you just leaned us nicely onto our next segment, which is effective communication strategies. Okay, so it is important that we know the role of age-appropriate expectations and kind of the development stages of our behaviors as well. In terms of what we were just joking around about, a 7-month-old baby would, or like even a 5-year-old child would do compared to a 16-year-old child, what a girl would do, what a boy would do. So please do be wary of that in terms of understanding the behavior, the challenging behaviors. So in terms of effective communication techniques, between a parent and a child, I like to start off with having a active and open dialogue communication channel with your child, in a sense that if there's an incident in school, let not just that school meeting, or if there's an incident that has happened at home and there's a anger conversation going on, let that not be the only time that you talk about that situation. I think there has to be like, okay, something has happened, right? There should be a routine where something has happened, my mom and dad are going to sit me down and they're going to talk to me about it. Yeah. And I think that is very, very important. Having not that fear of, oh my God, I need to explain to my mom and dad how this has happened. Because as a parent, sometimes yes, you will get angry, and you, let's just say something has happened, you just shout in that moment.
Yeah.
Right, you may have raised your voice at your child. You may have sent them upstairs. You may have told them to sit on a timeout. Right, but do not let that be the only strategies used. I wouldn't classify that as managing this challenging behavior.
That's just you've let them know that you know about it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, so I think
managing,
having then okay, let's sit down and let's have a chat. And in that chat, there should absolutely be no anger. There should be an open and honest conversation of what has happened.
And I think in certain examples or extents, what I'd just like to drop in there, which I've seen happen in the past, is if you're a parent of multiple children, for example, if child A is in trouble,
yeah,
and they've done something serious, and it's now time for you to have that chat with that child A. Make sure you have it in a private environment, where child B or C are not listening in or able to find out what child A has done, because in the long term, between the siblings, this is another area where A, it could probably promote or encourage similar behavior for the younger ones, and B, the older ones might have lost a little bit of respect in front of the younger ones, where their relationship is now affected. So we've got to make sure the way we manage these chats is done appropriately, I think.
Of course, and I think, as you mentioned, in terms of, I was actually listening, there was I think it was a more of an Islamic lecture where they were saying, respect the privacy or respect the conversation that you have with your child, so they, do not embarrass them in front of everyone.
That's exactly.
And I think, I'm my uncle, your uncle as well, and then sometime where we may have to have a chat with our nephews and nieces about certain situations. And I think I always done it like in a private place rather than having a conversation in front of all of our cousins, And I think do not tell them off in front of them.
Yeah, sometimes it's a cultural thing as well, where, for example, the father of the house now has to
set an example.
He's heard bad news from the school, or he's come home and mum said, "Oh, you won't believe what he's done today," and it's like all out war immediately, because that's a natural reaction.
And there's a mosque announcement, my child's been naughty at school, I told him off.
And
the neighbors know the whole street now.
All of a sudden, somehow,
you know what,
the neighbors are aware of it as well.
I like to use my own personal experience, right? So my uncle, while I was growing up in terms of in secondary school, so just a bit of a background, my dad passed away when I was really young, so my uncle kind of became my dad and everything in one. So the way it was for me as growing up was, he made it very, very clear, these are my expectations, right? And he was very consistent in terms of that. It wasn't the case of like, for example, if you're not allowed your phone, if you're not allowed to have, them days phones just started.
Yeah.
If there was an agreement made at this age, you're going to have your phone. That's it. It wasn't the case of, okay, you know what, you've done really well in this test.
There was no movement.
Rather than 16 years old, I'll give it to you when you're 14. There's nothing like that.
Yeah,
he was like, this is how it's going to be. And never once shouted, right? And it was always the case of, I'll be honest with you, I think it's because of that I was able to I was not what you would call a challenging behavior, right? Because I knew he's going to ask, okay, let's just say got into a fight. What happened? Right? And I still remember one day when I did get into a fight while I was in school, he was in Pakistan, right? And somehow, you know how our 5G network works in our community, even in them days.
Pakistan.
He rang, right? No, sorry. He rang and he goes, I heard about this. You got about 2 hours to get it sorted, and I want an update.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. And to be honest with you, it was about a group of lads just kicked the door of another house and so on, right? And guess what? I'm running around apologizing to people, right? Fixing my mistakes. And I think that
Absolutely.
was clear, consistent expectations and sticking with those. And I knew I had to explain myself. And I think if your child knows that there has to be a clear expectation, that there is going to be a clear questioning, then they will rethink about their behavior. They will definitely have to think about, what they're doing and how you are kind of always going to be questioning their behavior. Okay?
Of course. So
it's got 15 seconds without before our break.
Where's the ad break coming up?
Yeah. So what we're going to do after the ad break, we'll sum up what we talked about in this segment, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Master's Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11 plus, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166 003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
Mar food store Lincoln Road triangle te inna rush o balle hoy tusani amba ne pure mulke vich rolle
पाकिस्तानी सौगातां जी अंब ले लो जामनू ले लो पाकिस्तानी ताजे मिठे अंब ते जामनू आ गए जी
ਯਕੀਨ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ ਭਾਈ ਨਾ ਮਾਰ ਫੂਡ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਵਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਡ ਦਾ ਅੰਬ ਮੰਗਵਾ ਕੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਯੂਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਸ਼ਲ ਲਵਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਜਾਮਨੂ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਉਹ ਜਨੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਪੁੱਤਰ
Amar Food Stores Al Mashu Fresh Halal Meat and Groceries Address 613B Lincoln Road Triangle Peterborough Telephone 01733 687374 Amar Food Stores Meyar ka naam Munasib Daam.
Thinking of laser hair removal but worried about cost? Well Skin Clinic, Peterborough's #1 aesthetic clinic, offers 0% finance on courses of laser hair removal. We perform thousands of treatments using the Soprano titanium in our prestigious clinic. Virtually pain-free and suitable for all skin types, our team of aesthetic professionals can help you achieve your goals affordably. Well Skin Clinic, making life-changing aesthetic treatments affordable for all. 40 Cowgate, Peterborough. Call or WhatsApp us on 01733 555540. Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our restaurant at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5pm to 10:30pm. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
You could be driving, you might be cooking, you could even be working. But whatever you're doing, you're also listening to Salam Radio. And if you're in business, your potential new customers could be listening too. So talk to them and let them know what you have to offer. Advertising on Salam Radio is affordable and effective. And by doing so, you're also supporting this valuable and important voice within the community. Call 07866 319 679 or find Salam Radio online and across social media.
صلى عليك الله يا عدناني يا مصطفى.
Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners. Welcome back to Islam Radio, the voice of knowledge and inspiration. So you are joined here with Education Matters with myself, Mehtab and Shamir. Tonight's episode, we are discussing the challenges that parents face through their parenting. Before the break, we were looking at the segment of effective communication, which Shamir is going to sum up in just a moment. If you'd like to get involved, please do give us a call on 01733 602 133. You can also text in on 07411 191062. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch, and you can always comment or leave any tips that we may have missed. And even if you are listening to this after it has gone live, do please join in and share your experience and get involved, so we as a community can learn and help each other to improve our lives and improve our standards. So, Brother Shamir.
Thank you, Mehtab. So, just before the break, listeners, you were listening to effective communication strategies that would combat challenging behaviours. And again, obviously, we're just giving advice to parents. As teachers, we are going to link back to schools and things like that as well. An interesting example Mehtab gave earlier, where your uncle was almost disciplining you correctly. I could say it because it worked. You said it worked, and you were always on the back foot. And you knew exactly what to do and what not to do, and if you made a mistake, you knew how to fix it.
Yeah.
And you were under that pressure from your uncle to fix it, which I quite like that example, because it got me thinking about, for example, it's a lot harder to manage challenging behavior at home as opposed to in school, because in school and in organizations, even in workplaces, for example, you've got adult employees, and let's say institutions out there, most of them would effectively manage behavior even of adults. So when we compare strategies at home versus strategies in an institution or an organization like a school, I think it's a lot easier to manage it in school, because, like we mentioned earlier, there are sanctions in place, and those sanctions, if followed, tend to work quite well. We will always have the children at the top of that triangle, which we call peak of the triangle, who always pop up no matter what. However, just below that triangle is the majority of the students who are prone to have an off day, who are prone to slip up every now and again. The sanctions that we have in place in school tend to fix those quite quickly.
The everyday student.
Student. So they'll mess up once. They'll
made a mistake.
They'll understand the mistake. Someone's gone through the sanction. Just because it's the first offence, a school wouldn't let them off. You will still get sanctioned, unless it's that really low level where you can sort of parry off with a little conversation. So the key, I think, in your example was your uncle was following through with his sanctions. Your uncle was delivering what he was promising that he put in place in terms of the family network, and it worked. Which I think if more of us start to adopt strategies like that, which is a lot harder because it's your own family and it's your own child, it's harder to almost punish them, and you feel like you're punishing them and you feel their pain. You got to bite the bullet, you got to bite the tongue, and follow your sanctions through and keep that discipline. So I just wanted to link it back to that, just so we are clear. Obviously, we do understand it's harder to manage it at home, but it's not impossible. As long as the systems are in place, just like a workplace would have, a school would have, I think then you've got a chance of managing the challenging behaviour.
I just want to also add the effective communication. It's not just between you and the child. It is also between you as parents.
Between the parents themselves?
parents themselves,
Okay.
because how many times do you know? Oh, my dad's not home, so I'll be okay. Yeah,
You're paying one parent off the other.
Yep.
Okay.
100% that. So I think it's important that there's effective communication between the mom and dad, because what I'm going to go into is the consistent discipline and boundaries. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we link effective communication within the consistent discipline and boundaries, what we can say is that your effective communication can be done as, right, let's just say your child been given a mobile phone.
Which most children would have. I know there's a select few that don't.
Of course.
The majority of children would have that right now.
And then it will be the case of, okay, we are trusting you with this phone, right? You got access to everything on there. And we expect you not to be on your phone when it's bedtime. We expect you not to be looking at certain things or Googling certain things or so-and-so on your phone.
Yeah.
We expect you to use it in this manner. So your child, how many times have we said to our kids, your bedtime is at 8 o'clock. If you don't go to bed, this will happen. Right? Because when they don't get to go to bed, what do we say?
You didn't say it was AM or PM.
No, like in terms of when they don't go to
When
bed,
they get caught.
We start shouting in a way, how many times have I told you get to bed? You're not in bed. Come on, go. Right?
Yeah.
But what if, and this is a strategy that I've been I wouldn't say experimenting for this show, but let's just say something that I've implemented, whereas we got stairs in our house, and like you heard of timeout. Right? So when we have nephews and nieces come around and there's been a conflict between them, which is always, right? They get time out. And they have to sit there, depending on what they've done. They know they're going to turn around and they'll be like, Mom, or call this or do this. No. They know it's time out.
But what about like an uncle like me, where if I said that to one of my nephews, they'd probably give me a timeout. So what do I do?
I mean, this is where the uncle need to build a consistent discipline with himself before they can be applied.
So look in the mirror and motivate myself.
Of course. And I think so with your child, make sure they know the rules. And I think what you said earlier that links beautifully into this is that in school, they know if I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen.
Yeah.
Right? They know the consequences. They know the sanctions. They also know the positive reward side of it as well. And at home, it's very difficult to have that system because there's all that motherly, the fatherly, chalo nikah na randi hona. It happens. It happens. So
I think this is where you hire a PA.
we have to. I think we have to make sure that if we are saying, how we all, the one thing that I always say, or our workplace, we always say is, if we are saying that we do one exit ticket a week, we are going to make sure that we are doing it.
Yeah, the minute you forget or you get lazy, that's the start of the downfall.
Yeah, because I'll give you a perfect example, right? In school, the students know when they come in, I'm going to be standing at the door saying hello to them and checking their uniform, right? So they know that. So even if they're going up the stairs, they start tucking their shirt in, or they'll know, they're preparing because they know the expectations. They know the homework is due on a certain day. If, for example, I got lazy, I forgot, I did not enter a detention for them, right? I have heard students sometimes, when they're talking, maybe sometimes they do talk behind mine his back as well. But you will hear students say, oh, don't worry, he won't give you today, he'll be all right. Yeah, don't worry, or she always forgets. She says it, but it doesn't do it. How many times have you heard that? And it's the same thing that happens at home. We'll say, if you don't do this, this will happen. But it doesn't happen. So we need to make sure that we first are consistent and disciplined in that rules that we set for our child, and they are aware of those boundaries. So whatever they are doing, anything new that they get introduced to, they need to be aware of their boundaries, what they're allowed, what they're not allowed. And what's harming you and the child sitting together and making rules? So many times in my classroom, especially when it's the first lessons, right? How many times you probably done this as well, Shamir, where we're like to the students, okay, guys, what rules should we have in the classroom, right? Let's just say we got Aiden. Aiden, when you're talking to the class,
he's a good boy. Just to be clear.
When you're talking to the class, when you're talking to the class, what rules do you want everyone else to follow? Do you want other people to talk? And guess what they'll say? No, sir. Okay, so that means when someone is talking, no one else is talking.
Yeah,
we can do that at home with the child.
Because what you're doing is you're putting the
get them involved. Yeah.
And as soon as, for example, it's a lot harder to break your own rules. It's easy to break other people's rules. But if you're part of it and you contributed,
you made them. Yeah.
Then I think you're putting the onus back on them, and
100%.
It's a collective, like you said, it's a collective effort.
So the question that we have to our listener is, does your child know if they're watching something on their phone that they shouldn't? What'll happen? Do they know the consequences? And is that done every time?
Also, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't remember. I think it was EE. They had an advert the other day, and I'm sure the other phone providers are doing something similar. But it is super easy nowadays to actually manage that activity on the phone. So we're I think as adults we're running out of excuses to not manage these things effectively. So nowadays, just like they've got good technology on their phone and they could do so much, I think on the other side, there's so much support out there.
Yeah, and I think, for example, let's just give a couple of examples to parents out there, right? So let's just say, okay, if you get a detention, if you get a detention once a week, right, your phone's going away for 5 hours or for an evening. Yeah, something easy as that. There's no admin involved. All you got to do, take your phone off them, and you just keep it in your personal space. Or what if, what you mentioned about the iPad? About, using technologies at home.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes,
it could be, it's like Google Parent. I can't remember Google, where you can control the Google account, then obviously is logged into the child's account as well. And then what I used to set a timer on it, right? After 8 o'clock, it's gone off. Yeah? So they knew the homework has to be done before then. And you know what? It does work, and it's hard. It's very hard.
I think when you say it's hard, I think
to say on top of it,
I might be wrong, but I think probably the most awkward and the hardest bit is to maybe upset your child, because you've set a sanction and you have
to follow it through now.
You've given, so you've said to them, for example, I'm going to take your phone off you and I'm going to give it back to you tomorrow. And then when the time comes and they've done something that deserves that sanction, you in your head are probably sitting there thinking, oh no, you probably feel their pain or their anxiety.
But in the long run, it'll benefit.
However, if we again link it back to school, we do that on an everyday basis. How many times do we sanction kids for not doing something right? We'll sanction them, they'll go and do the punishment. Some of them don't do the first punishment, they'll get a higher punishment. But the very next lesson, when they come in, are we on the same level with them again? We haven't lost that connection with them. So as a parent, if you're sitting there scared thinking, okay, I don't really want to upset my child because this is a severe punishment, or they might not talk to me for the next 5 hours, they're going to be upset, or whatever it is, that little awkwardness, we do that every single day. 5-6 times a day, different lessons. There's kids where I've confiscated their phones. I'm their worst enemy for that moment.
But later on,
the very next lesson, they come in and we joke. We start the whole lesson with a joke.
And you'll always start, you always remember the teacher. Like, I can remember some of my teachers who are always on my case. Like, if I haven't got my tie, then where's your tie? Yeah, they'll pick up on stuff like that. And those are the ones that you tend to remember, because those are the ones that kind of build your character up, make you who you are. And I think in the short term, right? Obviously, we've gone through it. We've been through it as adults. So in the short term, you're right. It might upset them. It might be difficult for you even to implement those. But in the long run, it works.
It will work in the long term.
So I think now if we just go on to encouraging positive development, okay? So we touched upon, applying sanctions. But at the same time, I think we need to be able to have a positive behavior, promote positive behavior through praise, encouragement, and have a foster some sort of like a nurturing environment for our child where they want to do good. Okay, so they want to do good. So how about, we can, have a discussion about provide some, let's just say, quality time, engage in activity, whatever it is that you can do that will want your child to be good rather than focusing on not good. And to be honest with you, a lot of schools are pushing towards that. We would like to encourage positive behavior to manage the challenging behavior. The way we do that in schools, we would, there's house points, there's like a credit, merit, that points that students build up over the year, which equate to some sort of an activity at the end of the year or some sort of celebration. And there's also termly celebration, best in house, best in year celebration. So that is something that we reward our students. I mean, throughout the year, which will encourage them. In terms of, and then at the end, they could even get like an Amazon voucher and stuff like that. So a home, what can we, in terms of encouraging, it doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be financial, it doesn't have to be something that they're going to get. Do you see what I mean? Is it, how do we nurture an environment where they want to do good?
Give them basically what they want. So, for example,
why do we have? Why?
No. What I'm saying,
of course.
But, earlier we said about the screen time. So we were focusing on too much screen time isn't good.
Yeah.
However, if they have had a good week, then reward them with maybe an hour extra screen time. So you can actually reverse
and not doing work, just do
negatives,
play whatever
turn into a positive.
Yeah.
But that's what they wanted, wasn't it? Screen time. That was the issue. So if we know, let's say child A loves the phone, child A wants that screen time, then actually, if they've had a good week and did the right things in that week, you could probably say, okay, do you know what?
Met your expectations,
Yeah, you've earned an extra hour, however you see best fit. But we could actually reverse those negatives because we know that's exactly what they wanted anyway. And then try and basically use it as a carrot to get them to do what they should be doing.
And you may have seen where a mother is feeding her child, and before she feeds the child, she has a doll or some sort of stuff. Imitating feeding of that, and then obviously they don't have it, and then they get in trouble, and then obviously the baby looks at that and like, I better have it. And I think I want to relate that back to where you're saying a scenario where there's a couple of
the doll's face off the body.
there's a scenario where there's a couple of you got a couple of siblings, right? When there's a positive, try this.
Slap the little one to get the attention of the older one.
No, definitely not. Positive behavior. So maybe think of this, right? You got three kids, right? So one of them has done extremely well. He met all of your expectations, did what it's supposed to, and gone beyond. Say to him, okay, me and you are going to go for dessert because you've done everything that you need to. And then the other two stay at home. This gonna trust me. Even me saying it, I feel.
Are you trying to
create a family violence? No, not trying to create a war.
One. Leave your kids at home. Take the neighbours. That would really.
Right, you've not been good, so I'm gonna. No, you know what? What we're trying to say, right? What we're trying to say is reward any positive behavior to encourage more positive, which will help you to reduce the challenging behaviors that you may face. And I think it's important that the student or your child feels, praised. And you know how we are always, not always, but you know how we said and advising people to say, do not tell your child off in public, or have that conversation with them.
Absolutely.
The praising side of it.
Make sure you do it openly.
You know what? I'm so proud of Aiden.
Yes,
he's doing so good in school. Really, really well done.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Right? And I think I know there's not a lot of conversations that we have, but have those conversations of how they got on into school. And they're so, with the system, they're so good right now. You will, on your phone as a child, as a parent, whether it is on an app, whether it's on an app or whether it's through email, you will get notification. So and so has been so good in maths, right? I still remember one of my students. Obviously, it was a report time, and I put honestly, how he was doing. He came the next day like over the moon. So give me some work. I'm ready. I go, you were good. I go, you were good. But what happened? You just gone into a different layer. He goes, sir, let's just say my dad sorted me out. Yeah, so I think he was into cricket, and his dad bought him some nets. Yeah, cricket net practicing. Yeah. I go, wow, that's really good. I go, he goes, I play cricket and I always wanted one. He just got me. I go, what made him, obviously, he didn't get it before, now he got it. He goes, basically, yeah. The report that you sent, he read that and he goes, oh my God, well done. You know what, well done, because I'm so proud of you. Yeah. And I'm going to get you that. And the amazing thing is, the next day he's coming and we're looking for more work, and
we're trying to, because once he's obviously got that recognition, he wants to impress even more.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so many options out there to obviously reward behavior.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't have to be financial. It's just literally recognizing it. Just saying, you know what, well done. Absolutely. I'm so proud of you. It makes a massive difference.
And even with us, I think we're the same. We try and focus, or actually we end up focusing on those peak of the triangle kids. We're trying to fix the uniform. We're trying to do all these. You see what I mean? We're trying to fix.
You know what?
Everything,
I have a bit of a rule that every week I'm calling two or three, also taking pictures of students' work and emailing that home. Yeah, so many times when I'm ringing home, parents pick up. Oh, what has he done now? Yeah. No. I'm just calling to say how proud. What? And next it's legend.
It's when they least expect it, of course.
Yeah. Right. We're gonna finish off on the last segment where
seeking professional support.
Support. Yeah, I think it is important. That sometimes we have a stigma around. People feel shy, especially our community, where we don't reach out to the professional people out there that could support us in terms of whether it's a difficult behavior, even if it's like learning difficulties, for instance, right? Or whatever support that your child will need. Sometimes we don't we don't like it to be a common knowledge of. Even we do tutoring, for example, and I know some of my students, they feel uncomfortable about their family knowing that there's a tuition. So I think it is important as parents, where at any point that you see that there is something that you are unable to manage as such, that you are reaching out to the professionals and seeking out for help. Okay, there are trained professional people out there, psychologists, counselors, where they can support you. So it is important that if put your child's interest at heart. Okay, put your child's interest at heart, and that should be the priority. If they need some support, please do go out there and make sure you speak to the professional out there. I'm having these difficulties. How can I support? And even your friends. You don't need to discuss it with your child being there, but discuss some of the strategies. How do you tackle this with your child? And that could be something that could be shared amongst your children. Right.
We've just got, we've just noticed now, thank you, Brother Faisal. We've got a few comments on Facebook. So
nothing has come up.
Problem is, if parents take their phone off them, then the kid will do their heading instead of being busy on the phone. Another one, find out the currency of the child. Once you know what motivates the young person, you can tap into this. Intrinsic motivation is developed from the formative years, and parents would ideally start this early. Thank you, Nadia, for that one. Abid Hussain said, evening, Mr. Akram. Mr. Hussain, evening, Nadia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Dr. Shabina, is such a great and important show for our youngsters. Thank you for your kind words.
I do apologize just because of the timing. Thank you very much for people getting involved. I just want to say, and I'm sorry because I have actually mentioned this to a parent, right? So someone did actually mention we give an iPad to my son because it does our head in. And then you know what I turned around and said, I'm sorry if it offends anyone. My comment was, but that's your job, isn't it? As a parent. They're supposed to do your head in. They're your child. Yeah? Whose head in are they supposed to do? Yeah? So if you're giving iPad to them so they're going away, what are you going to do as a parent? The problem is, I myself included, we as parents have become too addicted to these devices that we haven't got time for our child. And I want to leave the note there, and we will discuss again, inshallah, in the future, because I think it is a very, very important topics that we are discussing. If any of you would like to come here and challenge us on any of our advices, because I want to know your view. I want to know what you think of these things, because some of them I can say are very questionable. But thank you very much for listening to us today, Brother Shamir.
Thank you so much, guys, and hopefully we will hear from you and see you next week.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
ये खुद को कोविड-19 और फ्लू से बचाने का वक्त है। अगर आप या खानदान के किसी दूसरे